Have you heard this conspiracy theory about these fires, Mother? Did Kenny tell you
No, I
this?
have not.
Kenny
No, I have
actually
not.
mentioned this to me, and I had to look into it. So, a couple years ago, they were trying to put a train line in, and they
Yeah.
weren't allowed to do it because there would have been too much deforestation, right?
Right.
So they
Yeah.
tracked these fires, and assuming, let's just say that it's not true, but like if it was true, these fires, the pattern that they go, like how they started and how they evolved, is the exact same as the map of the train line they were going to put in. So they think
Oh,
that these were
interesting.
controlled burns that got out of control. Now, again, that's just the conspiracy. I'm not throwing that out there, but it is a little weird how it is when you overlay the two. It's almost
Yeah.
identical. So,
Yeah.
but it is a shame to see how bad it's gotten. So now here's my question about, and you actually explained this to me, but I think this is the question that a lot of people who aren't in the know have. Gavin Newsom's taken a lot of heat for this. Now, I think most people would ask the question, how is this the governor's fault for a fire breaking out?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, because you explained
Oh.
it to me. You
Oh.
explained it to me
Um.
once, and you were like,
Well, how is this going to fall? Okay. Well, when you think of California, you think of Hollywood, you think of earthquakes, and you think of forest fires. It's what they're known for, right? And while he's been dancing around, bending over backwards to appease the illegal immigrant population and creating homeless camps, remember, he's responsible for all these cities as the governor,
mm-hmm.
right? And the infrastructure. That's the number one thing. Any elected official, their number one job is to keep their people safe, including the President of the United States, right? And it trickles down. That's the governor's job. That's the mayor's job to keep the citizens safe. And you work with the infrastructure in place to do it. And if it's a weak infrastructure, it's your responsibility to fund it and fix it. Get the funding and have it done.
Yeah.
So while he's dancing around doing his, I'm going to be the next presidential nominee for the Democratic Party, we have found out that they never cleaned out the forestation that has been suggested over and over again that needs to be done. They have never, they did not fill the reservoirs. They have all these liberal policies in place to protect all these endangered species. And in the process, they put their citizens at risk. As the person running the state, doesn't matter what party you are, it's your responsibility to know about that stuff. Now, on top of it, we're finding out as they dig deeper, right? All these fire trucks that have been sidelined because there wasn't money to fix them. They're sitting in a parking area and they got one of those wonderful drones taking a picture. At the same time, the mayor of Los Angeles cut the budget by millions and millions of dollars, some of which she was proposing to cut from the fire department right before this happened. Now we're seeing all these hires who, one of them admitted she was a fire chief, I think, in one of the areas. She happens to be a lesbian, right? Who admits on tape that
Oh,
if your
yeah.
husband's there, I can't, you're stuck. I can't carry you, okay? Now that has nothing to do with the person's gender. That means she wasn't qualified to do the job, right? This is what happens when top-down policy says, doesn't matter if they could do the job, the important thing is to get a certain person in that job.
Right.
Well, people died because of that. I mean, literally, people died. And some individuals, in the first responders, some of them are going to die if they haven't already. So now these decisions have consequences. And I read your article out of the Hollywood Reporter.
Yep.
Talk about, I won't call it a fluff piece, but it's everything else caused these problems except for the people running it.
Right.
You're going to have forest fires. I mean, it's happened before, and the person points that out. These things raged out of control, and the mayor wasn't even around. She was wasting tax dollars going to another country. Don't know why, okay? As these things are raging. And everyone's trying to pass the buck on somebody else. At the end of the day, it damn well is your fault. And I hope a lot of the people, what's scary is I saw another article, 50% of the people in that state still don't believe it's their fault. No, the fires weren't necessarily their fault, but the fact that they got out of hand to the point where it's devastated a good chunk of that state, and some of them I think are still going, yeah, that is their fault. Because it's not like they were not known for forest fires.
I've been seeing news clips. I wouldn't say I've been watching the news, but it kind of, I don't know how to feel about it, but they'll have people go through and it's like, oh, like the guy that found his dog that he thought died. Like, that's great. But then there's this one guy that's sitting at his house and he's like, yeah, I got to call my mom. This is the house that I grew up in, all this. And it turns out he lived there for like a year. And so you can see like the news organizations are really kind of milking the story a little bit, which is tough to see. But then there are the good moments, like the dog one that I was telling you about. But
Well, if you think about it, the first few stories was all about these celebrities. Well, I feel bad for anybody who loses a home and loses property, especially if there's pets. But it's hard to feel sorry for somebody whose mansion that's $12 million burned down and it's their third home. I feel bad for them. They have the money to rebuild, whether they have insurance or not. They do have a place to go if they were even in that house at all. And I think that the media was starting to realize that. They were focusing too much on the celebrities and individuals, which, and I'm sure this audience, maybe they're not aware of this because nobody's aware of this. At the same time, I'm hearing a story. Anybody remember the hurricane in North Carolina and Tennessee that affected people out west?
right.
Do you realize these individuals are still living in tents? Think of how cold it is outside, Christopher, where you are.
Yeah.
Okay? They're in the mountain regions with snow. These are American citizens who have been totally abandoned. And I'm scratching my head a little bit about what's the plus to going to North Carolina here if this is how your governor treats you. I haven't heard boo from the governor of that state. We know the federal government, forget it. Joe Biden wasn't going to do anything more for them, and FEMA pretty much walked away. But where's your governor? Why aren't all you citizens
Walked away
in that
or
state
spent everything?
Well, it's a new governor. He just got elected. I would be, and he's a Democrat, not that that matters. I'd be screaming. These poor people. I cannot believe it. And Tennessee, which is, tends to be a red state, and I think parts of West Virginia. Why are these people, as citizens, why are they not being helped? And now you got the fire in Los Angeles. Well, nobody's going to care about the people in North Carolina anymore. But they did. I saw an interview with people in that area. They said it is literally the same as it was the day after the hurricane. Nothing has changed.
Yeah.
We have no water. We have no heat. We're getting supplies from an auto dealership as people are trying to pull stuff together to go buy, your basic personal items. Some of the area, yeah, it's not highly populated, maybe not the most educated, not the most economically sound area. Some of them it was poor, like the Appalachian Mountain area.
Yeah.
But they're still citizens of this country. And then I have to read an article, I think it was Louisiana. They sent their National Guard to Africa to build houses.
Okay. Not exactly prioritizing correctly.
And they wonder why a good chunk of this country is becoming outraged.
Yeah.
You wonder why. It's not Donald Trump. I'm here to tell you, people, it's not because of Donald Trump. We're outraged.
Well, remember, there's a good percentage of people in America that think that he's been the president since the election. So just remember that.
I can't help those people. But it whatever. I hope the president does immediate attention to those individuals. East Palestine, does anybody remember them in Ohio? The train derailment?
Palestine, right? East Palestine was the way that was
I guess they
pronounced.
call it Palestine. All right, East Palestine. Okay, those people still have got nothing from the government. Nothing. The water's polluted. Businesses are still shut down. This is the United States of America, dumping billions of dollars into foreign countries, and we're not even caring for our own people. And they still want to make some sort of ridiculous case. I saw you brought up an article of Pete Hegseth, his confirmation hearings, confirming all these people. The audacity of these individuals in Congress to be picking away at what Trump says he's going to do and how he's a threat when your own people in your own country still haven't gotten help from you. And you currently are in government. You currently are in Congress.
Yeah.
It's just shameful. It's absolutely shameful.
What also surprises me is the amount of videos I see of people that are just continuing to burn stuff. Like, have you seen these arsonists that just like people just burn their trash now? It's funny how a tragedy happens of these forest fires, and they'll literally just post people just throwing fires into dumpsters. It's like there's a lot of
Yes,
people that want to
because
watch the world burn.
no, no, no. It causes chaos. And
Yeah.
remember, there's no the cities are now scrambling because whatever resources they have, they're sending to other towns to help them. So they create these fires to then go loot. So they go into neighborhoods and stores and they loot because there's no police force. There's no first responders in the area because they're being moved over to other areas.
Right.
So that's why they're doing it. And that's why they're arresting a couple of them because they find them setting fires. I think the last couple were, of course, illegal immigrants who were setting them in some town near a place called Kenneth, literally called Kenneth. Yeah, so the police came back, arrested them, threw them in jail because that's what they do. They're trying to create chaos in the town to go out and loot.